I'm sure that you play against these guys, you know, obviously a lot more than I do. Ian looking like he's here to play in 2025, whether he's deadlifting like 400 plus pounds or getting a 100% win rate in the group stage. What are your thoughts here? Oh, wow. And also going with, is that a bunk bed next to his bed? What am I looking at?
This is what you call the Qlash corner, okay? This is a specifically designed Clash Royale. So when you're in the corner, you know that it is time to play Qlash. He's locked in 100% win rate in the qualifier for this tournament. But like you said,
what he does in the space, and then you look at that 100% win rate, it's going to be really, really interesting to see if Ian can kind of put the pedal to the metal here when he really needs to. So there we go. Ian, top of your screen. Valk, Fire Spirit, Snowball. Sub coming out with Evo, Snowball, and Drill already.
Poison drop it down
I was
on the
gonna say,
left
honestly,
side.
It looks like Ian is a little sick, Juice. You know, I saw him blow his nose there.
Oh, that's true.
Being in bed, so I do wonder if that's going to affect his, you know, his mental state at all.
Huh. I would not have put that together with my eyeballs, but yeah, maybe sick, maybe some allergies, but I'm sure I mean, maybe it'll be like the flu. Maybe it'll be like a flu game. Maybe he's going to play even better now. Either way, we have ourselves a drill mirror matchup, it seems. Valkyrie for Ian. We'll see if Sub has either poison or log as well. That could be a big difference maker here.
So they both have Fire Spirit, which is great. Valkyrie obviously going to be a little bit better at cleanup than the Mighty Miner, but Mighty Miner comes in for that 3-card cycle, so you give some, you win some, you lose some, if you will. And yeah, I mean, Juicy, when you look at this matchup, which deck would you rather have?
Good question. Obviously, my first thought is the fact that the Valkyrie is really strong versus Drill. Both players have the Fire Spirit, which is also great versus the Goblins. Evo Snowball is strong. Very similar cycle, but Sub has the Evo Dark Gob, which usually wouldn't be great in this matchup, but Ian doesn't have a log or good way to take it out. Overall, I would give Ian a slight advantage, mainly just because of the Valk.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I mean, that's kind of what I was thinking too. I just wasn't sure if there was more layers to it. And Tesla here to not get Evo Snowballed off the board, but the guards do. 2294 is the weakest tower for Sub. 2468, the weakest tower for Ian.
Another thing to note, though, is Sub does have the Mighty Miner. That 3-card cycle could allow for more Evo Snowballs, more Drills, more Poisons in the tower, especially once we get to that triple elixir time.
And already playing double Tesla plus a Fire Spirit. And that's something that Ian's going to have to kind of think about as this game goes on. You know, Evo Snowball all of a sudden becomes much less effective against Teslas being played defensively. So there you go, a little bit of a change. Now we see Snowball plus Poison instantly on the tower just to get damage in. Guards go down 1764, 2112 as Sub gets back on offense. And just eats the Fire Spirit.
Ooh. And the Evo Snowball takes the Ice Wiz and the Valkyrie off the board, allowing for a lot of Goblins.
Wow.
Super close match here. Super close. Dark Gob once again getting ready to defend and also try and get the Evo back in cycle.
And there's the Tesla up front. So we see the Drill going off to the side, and that's a good adjustment there by Ian, not playing the Drill up front to get caught by the Tesla.
Big push on the right. He's got guards and Dark Goblin offense. Valkyrie might actually be forced up high here instead of on the Drill. Ice was doing a good job, but an Evo Snowball forced on defense for the Goblins. That's not good, and Sub's going to keep applying pressure, knowing that was maybe a slight mistake.
Yeah, and then he has to go Goblin Hut for just the Fire Spirit, which is a massive negative trade, or at least being out of position. And as you said, Sub, pedal to the metal at the bridge, now 912 to 1053. Sub in the lead by just over 100 HP with just over 1 minute remaining here in overtime.
Mighty Miner to the back, activate 3-card cycle. Tesla and Fire Spirit on defense from Sub is very strong, making the Snowball not able to knock anything away. Ian is going to have a big defense ahead of him.
Ian keeps going, you know, he's moved it a couple times, but he keeps going Drill to the front of the tower when Sub is playing his Tesla there like 95% of the time. I mean, isn't it just safer to go to a different spot just to get the Goblin on?
Different spot with the Snowball, but it doesn't connect once again. He needs to play a little bit lower. 30 seconds on the clock. Evo Dart forced on defense. Snowball pushes out of the way. Guards are poison value. Sub's just up a solid damage. There's only 20 seconds left.
Yeah. He's just like one cycle ahead of Ian right now, and there's the Tesla. It does get the Fire Spirit. It does. It get the Fire Spirit just enough. It got it just enough so the guards are not in the way. And a beautiful connection there from Ian that brings him back to life as you see him sit up there feeling good about game one.
I mean, wow. Once again, we see Sub with just one mistake. I mean, he's just playing great all game. I don't know if it's the nerves. I don't know what it is, but he plays the Dargob too far to the middle. The Fire Spirit ignores it, jumps on the tower. That's a fireball's worth of damage for only one elixir. That is not something you can afford this late into the match. Ian is also just going to give him a lot of confidence. I'd be pretty scared to go against a confident Ian in this situation if you're Sub.
And Ian doing something that I really love to see players do when they're either newer or they were up a game is just, all right, cool. Either game one didn't go well or I'm just starting out my tournament. Let me go to comfort. And Ian is known as one of the best Hog EQ players in the world, and Sub going to the skies. We've already seen this matchup once today, Molite and Vitor, or a similar type of matchup where it's Hog versus Lava. And Vitor was able to come out on top of that one. We'll see if Ian can do the same as Vitor.
Yeah, I think he definitely will, as long as he has the Tesla. I said it earlier, I'll say it again. He needs the Tesla. If he doesn't, the Firecracker on its own is not enough. But I would say most likely Ian is going to have another air defense in this deck just to ensure, to be ready versus any Lava Hound.
Jamal in the chat saying, I need a comfortable Qlash corner. Yes, you do, Jamal. Yes, you do.
We all do. We really all do.
And Hog damage in, and now Sub is already in that situation of, all right, I need to figure out where to get a Lava Hound down. I need to figure out where I'm going to sacrifice damage. Does he just go same lane now? Does he just go Lava into the Hog because there's already so much damage done?
Yeah, I think that you do go same lane in this matchup as Lava player. He's going to go for the Inferno Drag right there, kind of blocking this lane, but also getting the Evo in cycle. Ian, on the other hand, Mighty Miner to the back. He's not applying pressure right away, but he's going to try to activate that 3-card cycle to spam as many Firecrackers on defense as possible.
And there you go. Tesla is in play right on top of that Inferno. Skelly's to kite. Perfectly played.
All come through, but the Evo Valk is in cycle. Can do a pretty good job of preventing any damage from either of the main cards there. But there it is. Firecracker already set up on defense, and it's also going to help out versus the Evo Valk as well.
I don't know why the sound effects of the Inferno Dragon are still taking me a little bit to get used to. It almost sounds like it's like a different game.
Yeah, it's kind of scary too. He drops down. It's like I don't know. It's like a battle cry where it's like, I'm going to destroy your entire tower.
And that might be happening here as it is all charged up. Lightning does come in. Nice distraction there from Ian. Inferno does get on top of the Tesla, but not after a lot of defense is done. But that gap has just gotten narrowed by quite a bit. 914 to 1139. The lane change from Sub working out thus far.
Okay, 755 to 1,139. Sub's going to keep stacking the lane here. Ian's back to another Hog already. Valkyrie on defense. Firecracker at the bridge to try to connect. Hog is on tower. Earthquake isn't enough right now. He needs to get a Lava Hound down because another Earthquake log will do the trick.
That's it. He knows the cycle is there, Juice. The cycle is real.
Yep. Yeah,
and Sub throws up the white flag.
Wow. GG's. GG's. Ian going to be taking a 2-0 sweep versus Sub, proving both of us wrong as we pick Sub as a little bit of a more veteran player when it comes to actual competitive Clash. As you mentioned, Ian might be known for his like individual skill when it comes to like ladder, global tournaments, seemingly always at the top of the leaderboard. He's able to convert that this time.
He's still in bed, but he looks like he's feeling a little bit better today. I honestly do believe that he was maybe not feeling better not feeling too well yesterday, even if it is early here in the States. But he's looking like he's in better spirits. He's got the kombucha there. And Ian, right? The biggest thing with Ian over the years is is he good enough to be in that top 1%? Is he good?
We've seen Ian come to World Finals often, always as a spectator, always as a supporter. And
Yeah.
I think that the one of the things that stands out about him is the attitude, almost like kind of different attitudes for Lucas and Ian. Lucas, a little spicy, a little salty, if you will, at times. Definitely one of the guys who makes you laugh, whereas Ian is always just so excited to be there, so excited to see everybody. So certainly someone you're rooting for to get a shot at that World Finals berth. We'll see how he fares. Does the King Tower activation pull off? And it does.
Nice. Yeah, looking like we're going to, minor wall breakers again, and top the screen. We've seen this in almost every set. Looks like we're actually seeing a little bit of difference here with the Inferno Dragon. But Golden Knight plus NATO, a popular combination on the day.
Well, obviously the shift in Golden Knight's pathing, making Golden Knight so much more fun to play again.
Yeah. Yeah, it was like a really necessary thing to happen. It felt like something that was kind of in need for the Golden Knight for a while. Just the ability for it to be able to be, to move backwards. It should be when it's chaining. So here we go. Ian coming out with Electro Giant to start the day here. And, E-Giant always has to be played with NATO, so it makes sense now that Golden Knight's getting a little bit better that you would see all three of them together again.
Hut to pull. NATO gets almost all there. One Spear Goblin just kind of hanging out, and that's going to kind of put a little bit of a damper on the push for Ian.
Yeah, it's going to be really interesting to see how Ian breaks through, because any good minor wall breakers player is going to keep up the pressure in whatever lane your E-Giant is not pushing. I mean, that's what you have to do. You have an ability to create so much damage in layered offenses, and I think Ian's recognizing right now he's in trouble. Because, you can go minor plus wall breakers plus spears behind. You can go minor plus bats plus spears behind. You can just go wall breakers straight up. There's just so many ways to create offense. And the biggest problem with E-Giant is you need to be able to create a big E-Giant push. You can't just have the E-Giant be by itself, or else it's going to get taken out by a building and then some spear goblins. So this is going to be really, really interesting to see where Ian finds a place to sacrifice damage to actually create a big push. And I think the first part of that we're already seeing, which is that he needs to get a 3-card cycle in play.
And it kind of feels like Ian gave some opportunities for that Mighty Miner to get full value. And we'll see if he has anything. I mean, look, you also think about these other pieces here, right? The bats and the poison just able to kind of shut down a lot of things here at the bridge. The Inferno Dragon has targets, sort of, but it's another game here where we're seeing the Inferno Dragon in the deck and no real clear place it's supposed to go. There's lots of ways to protect the Mighty Miner if necessary, and of course it can always vanish and go to the opposite side of the board. Nice little lineup here with the berry for a bit of damage. But, of course, Mighty Miner goes and does its thing. But here we go, some Inferno Dragon value as it finally comes in.
Yeah, and there you go. Inferno Dragon on the right, E-Giant on the left. Bait out more defensive elixir there with the wall breaker push. Clean them all up. Now you have your ability to get your own Goblin Hut down. He doesn't even need to, honestly. He'll be able to do this with Spears and a Poison. There you go. Spears are in. E-Giant's slow, and the Inferno will just, I was going to say either need wall breakers or bats to distract it, and... Lucas is one of the best players in the world with fast cycle decks, and he's found himself in a very good matchup.
75 seconds left. Lucas in a good situation, but this lead isn't dramatic. It's only down to about 2,000 HP on each side. Needs to make some good decisions between here and there.
Theoretically, if an E-Giant broke through, it could still be a good game here for Ian. I just have no idea how it's going to happen. There you go. Lightning to help, but yeah, the 3-card cycle, he should be able to get this taken care of, and there you go.
And I mean, the other thing that Lucas wants to be careful of is just don't give an opportunity for a Golden Knight NATO dash. And if you can avoid those two things, you're in pretty good shape. Now let's keep an eye on this, though. On the left-hand side, 2379. Behind by about 550 is Ian. And setting up the Electro Giant to the left-hand side. Golden Knight now going to go back into the cycle pool.
I like that. Patience there on the right-hand side from Lucas, just baiting out the dash from Ian. It's really, really small, but it's just one more elixir used in the wrong lane. Lucas just held and just let that Golden Knight walk all the way to the tower. And if you're Ian, you're doing the correct thing. You're going, all right, my Golden Knight's on tower. I've got to make sure I'm going to use the ability. And then he uses the ability, 1 less elixir for the left-hand side, and Lucas just firmly in control. But that was really just a straight-up matchup conversation in that game. That's really all that comes down to.
And I'm trying to go through some of for Lucas, we see this drawing, and I'm a luchador mask maybe on the back of Ian's. I feel like I used to decorate my room so much more than these guys do. Even the space that I'm in, I have my green screen up, but there's so much stuff behind me. Hopefully.
No, you know who had a really good room yesterday was Rooney.
Oh yeah, Rooney. Well, I'll have to go back and watch his match again and see what he's got. Here we go into game number 2, and Lucas opening up Monk Royal Ghost. On the other side of things, the Skeleton King supported by the Cannon Cart. And a nice reflection there for the Monk. Get those arrows back over the bridge, plus the cannon, and we're back to a similar story from last time as Ian's already emoting of what the heck do I do now. Lucas showing Royal Giant. And Ian maybe showing some buyer's remorse with his deck choice. We'll see as time goes on. First minute and 20 seconds away. And so far, just a little bit of chip damage on Lucas' side of the board. And here we go. Royal Giant, Firecracker behind, Mortar to pull to the middle. And good splash damage. Good sequence overall defensively for Ian. Gets the King Tower activation. Not critical against the Royal Giant, but able to get the Skeleton King onto the Firecracker as well. Bats plus Skelly King ability activation. There might be a King Tower activation in the opposite direction, and there is. And that's going to make things just a little bit harder for the Miner, a little harder for the Bats. As we move into double elixir time.
Yeah, this is definitely an interesting matchup here. The Monk has been coming out at the most unique times throughout this entire competition, and he has been very, very strong.
Trying to see if he can get the Monk across the bridge. Does not. Instead goes back behind, so RG tanking everything here. And Monk finally gets the reflection. Going to get a little back, and whoa, the tower targeting the Monk just barely. And that gets the reflection back. 25 seconds left, and a little lead here for Ian, but a precarious one.
Yeah, what a weird set of interactions there for Lucas. I mean, it was like the Firecracker got almost taken out by the Skeleton King getting pulled in, and then the Firecracker was like shooting in a weird, wrong direction. All that ended up working out actually very, very well for Ian.
Sudden death overtime, and after a couple of missteps from Ian early in the, as I mentioned, the sweaty emote, now finding himself chipping away at a pretty nice lead, 17-16 right-hand side of the 22-99.
Yeah, this is a really interesting spot for Ian to be in, honestly. I mean, there is the Monk to deal with that is a bit frustrating. He has a way to get on top of the Firecracker, but the biggest threat in the Royal Giant should, for the most part, be able to be controlled. And then he should be able to just get minor chip damage throughout this. And the reason I say it should be able to be controlled is because you should be able to bait out that fireball in different places. We're seeing it baited out right there. The Skeleton Dragons are great bait. You know, there's pile-ups at the bridge that can be great bait for that. So it's one of those things where if Ian plays this right, he should maybe be able to hold on, defend out, and just get minor chip damage in. He's got to make sure, though, that he's not losing that 3-card cycle battle, and that he also has his Skeleton King out as much as that Monk is out.
Just under 200
there you go.
HP.
See, fireball to the center. Sorry to cut you off, Rich, but fireball to the center there, and now there's no way to deal with the Evo Bats.
Fishboy trying to control here. Bats do go down. Now Bats behind the Miner on the right-hand side. But this is where that King Tower activation is coming into play a little bit. That was due to the Skelly King ability early on, and just saving a little bit of extra defensive support, 1525 to 1654. And Andrew, keep in mind here that fireball, that could be a difference maker as time gets short.
Yeah, I mean, Lucas using that fireball there. Now he's relying on the Monk to defend everything. And Rich, honestly, that's kind of a brilliant pull at least for the moment, it seems we do get a little bit of a breakthrough, but the Fireball can come in and still steal the game.
Lucas
As
has
long
to be
as
able
we
to
see
defend
nothing
the
else
miner.
here.
There's
Wow,
the
and he
miner.
catches
Arrows,
it again.
Arrows do it.
Oh.
Arrows do it, and Ian steals this one in the final second as time expires. 48 HP, and we're going to game number 3.
I mean, the monk up front was a good idea there from Lucas, but it really felt like he was trying to have that monk do just a little bit too much. You get the monk in front, the ability comes in, but down here at the bottom, it's all it is just the arrows coming in on top. We see the miner caught 1192 to 1240, a 48 point or HP game, and that's incredible there.
Been hitting the gym there. You know, Ian, people don't know about this necessarily, but Ian is also a pretty significant athlete, likes to do distance competitions, lots of long running, and maybe now deciding to switch up to bulk rather than speed. Either way, game number 3, that will not help. It's about your thumbs here, not about your biceps.
We see Lucas going with a bandit here and the Royal Chef Tower, which I don't think we saw the Chef Tower at all yesterday. As of late, the Chef Tower has been kind of paired with these big beat-down Goblin Curse style decks, but I don't think that's what we're seeing here exactly from Lucas, so curious what we got going on.
Well, that Inferno Dragon will require a few distractions here as the Heal Spirit comes out, and Inferno Dragon staying up a little more. This is going to get some sizzle here on the left-hand side. Just a little bit of chip damage, but still forced out a lot from Ian, as the first minute was basically all about a juiced-up eye drag.
This is a really interesting matchup. I mean, it's definitely one that we haven't really seen at all in the competition so far. We're seeing double bandit with Heal Spirit here out of Lucas with an Evo Inferno, Evo Bomber, and then top of your screen we're seeing, you know, something that you kind of expect. I think the issue here that we're going to see as kind of the game goes on, Rich, is that Ian is going to have to get kind of creative with having enough ground presence, right? Everything is really squishy on the ground other than that Mighty Miner, but only one Mighty Miner can be on the board at a time. So that's just something that Ian's going to have to be very kind of cognizant of as this game goes on.
And Lucas just content to play the setup game, right? He's not trying to push the pace heavily at the bridge, force Ian to make decisions, and that's everything we see here. You know, I remember harkening back all the way to when Mohamed Light started playing the Mo opening, if you will, with the wall breakers in the back rather than at the bridge, and it was just all about forcing your opponent to make decisions. And right now, it's what Lucas is doing. Although that Dark Goblin on the left-hand tower maybe takes some of that, makes that decision making a little bit easier for Ian.
Yeah, I mean, Lucas looking like he was thinking he was just going to be able to get away with a pretty light defense and ideally turn it into a good counter push, but that Evo Dark Goblin gets on top of tower. The Bandit actually dashes backwards, which is the big problem there for the Lucas. Bandit, he's trying to get out in the middle to tank for the Dark Goblin and ideally get that Dark Goblin taken out by the Bandit, and then the cannon cart behind is going to clear up the Goblins, but Bandit goes backwards, everything's caught behind the tower, and a great connection there for Ian.
And bait damage still comes in. 1034 left-hand side. Lead opening up to about 1,800 HP. And Lucas has to figure out something here in the next 2 minutes.
Exactly. The interesting thing about this that I was talking about earlier is, like, even though he is kind of wanting for ground tanks is Ian, Lucas just doesn't seem to be able to figure out a way to put a big push together.
Pressure on the right-hand side now. The Princess connecting a few times here. 3 shots get down. Evo barrel splitting. And look at the damage coming in on both sides. 674, 1025. Going from bad to worse for Lucas here in Game 3.
This is a nice moment to kind of create a little bit of presence, but that Inferno plus the smalls, like the Skellies and the Ice Spirit, because so much of your offensive threat is by these dashing cards. And now we see a good Ram Rider connection, though.
Yeah, and you
time
saw
for Lucas to kind of pull the ace up his sleeve.
When you also saw Lucas trying, and that's going to be it, as the Princess gets on target.
Wow.
That's going to be a log. 10 HP. The Princess finishes off, and Lucas certainly frustrated with how he let that one get away from him.
It's just such a weird deck, man. It's a weird deck that runs into not an ideal matchup, right? You know, you've got 3 ways to stop that Ram Rider charge in the Mighty Miner Bomb, the Ice Spirit, and
bit on his face in the past. But
Yeah.
same thing as we talk about Sub being different. Sub made it to 3 monthly finals last year, went deep in 3 monthly finals last year, made it to Worlds, got 4th. Vitor, he's now become, we saw him as a new guy coming into the league, having worked his way up through the amateurs, and now he's a seasoned veteran, and this does feel like it could be his moment. But Ian, certainly one of the ones who everyone is waiting with bated breath to see if he finally does do whatever all of his fans have been hoping for him to do.
Yeah, exactly. All of his fans, one of the biggest names in all of Clash Royale, as we see both these guys not wasting any time to get into the action, and both of them rocking Rage here in game number 1, which, again, you think about going to a best of 5, it makes sense that spells like Rage are going to be used, spells like Goblin Curse, maybe even seeing some Zap, which we see very little of these days.
I do wonder how much the best of 5 aspect impacts their decision making in the early matches, right? Are there adjustments you make in game 1, game 2, especially game 3, with the anticipation that you have to have viable, good stuff available in game 4 and beyond?
Definitely, and I truly believe the strategy is earlier in the best of 5, because you do have extra lives to give, you get a little cuter in the first couple games. I think it's important to see, feel out your opponent, see which direction they went in. Are they going comfort? Are they also going a little bit out of the box? And then save some of that really necessary stuff for later when you have to win. You want to have a game, maybe 2 or 3 games in, where you have that Evo Snowball plus Drill combo.
And bridge spam for both to start out. Arrows and Rage. Haven't seen the spell for the final card or spell for Vitor yet. But so far, Ian with dual lane pressure and damage, Vitor only getting stuff done on the right-hand side.
Yeah, Mama P.E.K.K.A should actually be a pretty good factor in this matchup for Ian, and then obviously having that Ewiz to deal with the Inferno Dragon is also going to be a great piece of the equation for Ian. So I like that right now they're both not really playing too aggressively and just kind of waiting for their opponent to make a mistake, and then they can ideally capitalize on it, and here we go. Now we see the Ewiz come out to stop the stun. You imagine the Inferno is going to come out on top of the P.E.K.K.A, so you see Ian turn up the pressure on the left-hand side like that.
Yeah, I mean, happy to go empty on this one. Mama P.E.K.K.A raged up,
Wow.
gets past the Evo Inferno Dragon for 2 shots, 464. Ian absolutely decimating that right-hand side, and a miscalculation from Vitor is going to lead to game 1 win for Ian, 7-7.
Yeah, I mean, pretty decent matchup there for Ian, but then Vitor just getting caught not tracking cycle. I don't think he recognized that, because of the late play on the Inferno, because of the pressure on the left-hand side, which was really great by Ian, he baited that Mega Knight out, so the Inferno had to come out just a step later. But what you're talking about is just simple elixir trades and situational awareness. And yeah, that negative trade to maybe get a Ram Rider on tower isn't going to win the game. So what are you actually trying to accomplish in that moment?
Here we go, game number 2, Miner for Vitor. And
man, we saw some really cool Evo Wizard stuff yesterday, which was really wild. Just Evo Wizard being played at the bridge because the opponent had so little to respond, and they only had swarm units, so the Evo Wizard would just cross the bridge. Any unit dropped on top of it would get destroyed by the shield going off, and then the Wizard would get like 2 shots on tower. And that's just another brilliant recognition of cycle and response.
And Vitor, again, playing very aggressive early in this one. The ability and then the minor send there on the left-hand side, and similarly getting punished for it as the Evo Wizard goes off on that right-hand tower and gives a significant early lead to Ian.
Yeah, and you can see him tilting himself because of it. You can see him already super frustrated, as anyone would be with a Wizard on tower this early in the game, only a minute and a half in. And I think you hit the nail on the head, man, and it's just way too aggressive, and I think you can always attribute that to nerves.
Halfway point through our opening 3, and it's 1793 to 2677 from your top right to your bottom left. Vitor setting up with some lightweight stuff. Miner goes to the Evo Wizard, plus the log. Fireball to clean all that up, though. But we will end with a 4 elixir Vitor advantage. Can he pressure?
Yeah, I mean, he's trying to do a little bit, but it's really important that he doesn't get too crazy here. And man, the E-Spirit, he's got to be thinking about that. I've been here before with whether it's mortar bait or, you know, wall breakers, bait, whatever it is. And right here you're seeing with the bats and the spears and the Mighty Miner as responses for RG. It's just a really frustrating spot to be in. You got the Fisherman to pull it away. You've got the Monk to deal with the Spear Goblins from the hut and the Spear Goblins on the board. You know, there's just a lot. You've got the E-Spirit to deal with the bats. You've got the Fireball to deal with the Evo bats. So I do not envy Vitor in this moment.
Well, and you saw what he was going for here. Rocket trying to clean things up, knows that there's no Monk ability. The Vitor, he had a log on that E-Spirit on the right-hand side, just the log was a half step short and a half step slow and not able to clear it out before the bats got through. And then here on the right-hand side, this was actually a really nice sequence from Ian where you had the Mighty Miner on the Monk, Ian just letting the Mighty Miner, or letting the Monk do its knockback to reset that Mighty Miner ramp up and get the Monk in a space where it could do the reflect on the other side of the board. So good situational awareness. Although that Fireball, maybe not what he had hoped, but it does clean up the problem.
Yeah, exactly. Just a little desperate there. The Evo Wizard just a little farther away from those Evo bats than I think Ian would have liked. Does get the Fireball out, which I think is the most important thing. But I think the other thing to note is just Vitor's body language and frustration in general. You know, he's got to slow his play down at the beginning of game number 3, or else he's going to find himself just in a really tough spot. I think he's playing like he's tilted, and he's getting punished for it, and that's a pretty nice Miner to distract there, to protect. Fishboy's still alive.
Letting that Monk ability, letting the Monk knockback do so much work and saving the ability. And for those of you who are maybe checking this out for the first time, who are newer players, the ability is so valuable. It's so precious, and Ian's showing exactly how to use it here, how and when.
Yeah, I mean, Vitor's finally getting some decent damage in, but with only 45 seconds remaining, he's gonna have to really make something crazy happen. And yeah, I was like, I really like that Fireball because the RG still needs to be responded to now.
And RG still gets one, and the Evo Wiz on the left-hand side gets some done as well. 676 and RG pressure. 19 seconds left, and it's not going to be. There's not going to be really enough for Vitor to do in game 2.
Yeah, I mean, you know, it's really tough because this has been an incredibly one-sided set, and it's gone the direction that I think it needed to go the other direction. You know, Ian is still pretty new to CRL Monthly Finals. Vitor is a former world finalist, and Vitor is playing. They're playing like they're wearing the opposite shoes right now. Ian playing very calm, collected, recognizing his matchup, and kind of letting the game come to him. Vitor just getting very, very aggressive early in both of those games. And getting punished for it. And, you know, I'm happy to, once again, I'm always happy to be wrong about players because, you know, Ian in the past has shown at this level, he just kind of starts to run into a wall.
And the worst thing that adrenaline does for you is affect your decision making. So smart stuff from Ian.
Yeah, I mean, if I'm an opponent and they will show you from the get-go that they're going to be hyper aggressive. And if you kind of play their game and you play at their pace, it's not going to always work out. So I really like what Ian did there is he punishes you early on. He starts to make you think about how aggressive you want to be. And because of that punishment early, he's just firmly in the driver's seat. And not only for the game, but now for this entire set.
And I don't think we've seen Berserker today. Is that right? Is this the first one?
First Berserker today. And for anyone in the chat saying that we hate Ian, we both love Ian. He's just had way less competitive experience than everyone else that is still in this competition. That's all it comes down to. Ian and I, Rich and I both really, really like Ian.
Yeah.
We've met him in person. So, yeah, that's how I feel about that.
Yeah, Ian's someone where you see it, when you see him in World Finals, you know, you're like, oh, here comes a big smile. I'm super excited about him. and hopefully we see him in a competitive standpoint for the first time. And look at that. I mean, look at this. This deck is we're now going into completely different direction than we have seen all day today. And I like Vitor trying to do something different.
Yeah, well, what's fascinating is that ridiculous machine, curse, giant bomber deck that's all over ladder has not been seen once in this competition, which absolutely makes sense because decks like that, those gimmicky decks, they don't really work at the highest level. That being said, I did think we'd at least see it maybe one time. And then also to add on to that, since we're not seeing it at all, I really didn't think we were going to see Goblin Machine other than in that deck. So just a lot of weird things kind of going on here. Vitor literally going, what are all of the newest and strongest cards in the game? Let's just throw them in a deck and see if they work together.
Well, we've seen, we're kind of going back to what we saw out of Igor earlier, right? Just kind of going with a giant beatdown deck. This one a slightly different tune, but still same idea. Can he find a way to just flat out break through and get on tower? And he's doing an okay job so far.
Great
and look at
Evo
that.
Valkyrie
Wow.
there.
Yeah. And that shuts down that whole conversation.
Defensive ability of that Evo Valkyrie is absolutely insane.
Yeah, pretty bonkers to clean up all of that. To clean up practically Vitor's entire deck with one card.
Yeah. And that's what it's going to happen every single time.
So Vitor has to find out some way to do that when there isn't an Evo Valken cycle, or find out some way to deal with an Evo Valken. As I'm looking at the board, I don't know what he does to, other than find it when it's not in cycle. I don't think he has any way to contend with an Evo Valk.
And what's brilliant about the Valk is it makes the curse so much less powerful. So now you see the curse coming in very late once the Valk is basically off the board, because those goblins then actually cannot do anything, right? They can't do anything when the Valk's there, so they have to wait till the Valk's gone. Then the push is out of sequence. And while we do see Ian taking a little bit of damage there, it's also with the King Tower getting activated. So even though damage lead, was not in his favor, I think that the decision overall is definitely better.
And near King Tower activation there against the boss. And Evo Valk once again just pulling stuff together. Final 75 seconds left. And Vitor with a slight lead, but now he has to actually play some defense.
And Goblin Curse, he met with the poison. Boss Bandit totally deleted by these guards, but a zap comes in.
1905 to 2061. And that Boss Bandit ability not going to turn into any actual damage. Graveyard down one more time. Berserker going up against the Graveyard. And oh boy, that just opened things wide. And Ian very close to a straight sweep in 3.
It's a good push on this left-hand side. I like the giant opposite lane just to kind of split things up. Evo Witch now getting responded to. Boss Bandit comes back right into that Valkyrie, and man, the defense here from Ian is so clean. And I mean, I think part of it is just like this deck. It doesn't really seem to make a whole lot of sense to me.
11 seconds left, and Vitor's forced to spend all of his time, focus, energy, and elixir on defense.
Wow.
And Ian, 1, 2, 3, the clean sweep, and he is headed to our grand final and a chance to win a monthly and guarantee his first spot at CRO World Finals.
Absolutely nuts. I mean, just beautiful stuff there from Ian, top to bottom. I love the decks he picked. I love the way he played. I love that he played his own game at his own pace. I mean, all of it. It's just, let's see if we can get some cards on the board, like guards that can be really annoying to deal with because you can't arrow those off the board. So it's just these really small adjustments, kind of like what we talked about yesterday and what I was saying to you earlier, Rich, as we finally get into our grand finals here, is just like, it's not always about win conditions. Sometimes it's about utility cards really shining. And talking about utility cards and building shining, we have seen so little Bomb Tower all weekend.
Yeah, and yet here it is.
Bomb Tower is an interesting choice.
Sorry to step in, but I think that's maybe what we're talking about with best of fives is if you don't want to show your hand in the first game, bring out a building that you think is going to counter something, and it is countering the Hog Rider, but you don't want to reveal too much.
And Minor Loon from Ian to open up our grand final. Very curious to see what he puts around this. And gonna get the pull from the cannon. So I like seeing Sub going Hog here against Ian to open things up. Might as well go ahead and try to hit him with what he knows.
Yeah, I mean, I don't dislike it at all. The one thing I do worry about is just air defense in this game. You know, this is going to be a fast cycle balloon deck with a miner getting to the back of tower. How do you get on top of the miner? How do you control the balloon, especially with arrows in place? So there you go, miner to the back, firecracker up high, arrows should be coming in, and then we get a late cannon. So great sequence there.
Yeah, but with arrows being out, it's another one of those things. Arrows such a crucial spell in our game. You talked about it before, how I think it was Mohamed Light yesterday bringing out the Evo Archers just to punish the fact that Arrows is out, and we might be seeing a similar thing happen here.
Well, still very early. Lots to be played, and of course, a win in the hand is better than, how would I say that, 2 in the suspicious bush?
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah, something like that.
And a little bit of chip damage early on coming through from Sub. We'll see how much these chips can actually mean in the grand scheme of things towards the end.
Oof. Wow, that is, I think, maybe one of the last cards you want to see if you're Sub, because now there is not only the arrows, there's also the monk, so you have an ability to deal with the cannon, you have an ability to deal with both firecrackers if you're able to get 2 down, which is why we're seeing one firecracker go opposite lane to try to create pressure offensively. And so far, a very good deck pick from Ian.
And we're also looking at double balloon coming in fast.
And will the first one be able to create enough room? This balloon really just going to force out Elixir more than do anything.
Wow.
And that actually might be enough for some bomb damage, and it is 1783 on the death bomb, as we are just 15 seconds away from sudden death.
I'm looking at, as we enter overtime here, I'm looking at the Inferno Dragon as well. There's absolutely nothing to reset it, and there's only one proper anti-air for Sub, so this might get very tricky.
Yeah, and we saw Sub do just such a great job of cycling 3 firecrackers and 2 cannons on that last defense, and that's just going to be the name of the game here. 3 firecrackers, 2 cannons, gets a King Tower activation here, which I love. So this is all really clean gameplay from Sub.
And actually manages to deal with the Inferno Dragon Evo very nicely here. Thought it was going to cause a little bit more trouble, but does it really nicely here.
EQ cycle early, 90 seconds left, and trying to open up this lead a little bit. That first hog does get a hit, oh my word. And now trying to sneak a second one through, doesn't do it. Damage done either way, 721, and Ian calling good game. He knows that he just faltered one too many times with this relatively unorthodox deck pick.
I agree. I really thought he had this one in the bag with just the way the decks were shaping out, but it looks like a little too many mistakes coming in.
Yeah, I mean, you know, Ian also has the ability to 3-card cycle, and, you know, we saw him get 2 balloons out. I just think maybe it's less balloons, more miners, and more arrows. You know, the 1 balloon is going to bait out the firecrackers, then you can get the arrows on the board for that. But, you know, the miners are going to be ideally going to be getting damage on tower over and over. And
with that, yep, Hog Rider comes in, Hog Rider finishes the game off, and that is Sub going 1-0 up.
He has been playing so incredibly well. Again, like, this matchup doesn't look great on paper. He looks all the way around it. He get, like I said, 3 firecrackers on the board, constantly keeping up pressure on that left-hand lane. Even when he was playing that massive amount of defense, he still got the Mighty Miner to get damage and give him the damage lead on that left-hand tower. Really nicely done by Sub.
Like, the card you look at as like the key piece of what Clash Royale is, and so I think for that one, it would be hard for me to tell you that we want to nerf this. I think for certain cards, they're just too much of a staple to the game.
Yeah, I love that answer too, because 2.6 does feel like it should just always be in the game, because if you're good enough with it, you should be able to climb with it, and I've always loved that about that deck, even if I don't like playing that deck or playing against that deck.
Yeah. And I think that's one of the signs that a card is good or a deck is good, is I don't like playing against it, I don't like playing with it, but I know what its role is, or I respect it in the meta.
Mighty Miner sets up in the back, and, you know, talking about tower troops, you mentioned this earlier, Andrew, the Man, the Cannoneer, just on that left-hand side, we saw skeletons going up against bats and snowball the bats and get significant damage from the skeletons. What a fascinating interaction.
Yeah, and you know, what I do love about Cannoneer is that it is still good enough to be viable in the current meta. I think Chef is kind of struggling, and I'm sure, Marco, you probably have seen that as well. But, you know, Cannoneer, it is so easy to get punished with Cannoneer when you have fast and swarmy decks.
Yeah, I think Cannoneer's found its place at, you know, a reasonable use rate, has like 2 or 3 decks where it really works well, and then it has its very clearly defined weaknesses. You know, bats are flying in your face. You know, you gotta do something about it, overcommit on the elixir, but that's just what the trade-off you take for the other good exchanges.
15 seconds until double elixir. Lead very slight for Ian, courtesy of the skeleton work on that left-hand tower. 25-69 on Ian's top right-hand tower.
Ian's deck is, again, like, it's this interesting... I mean, it had to be Drill, right, when you see Evo Snowball and he hasn't played anything else. So I'm just really curious about, you know, how passive he's kind of been here in single elixir, knowing that his opponent is running a deck that is obviously much heavier and does have a lot of good responses to that Drill.
Great cannon cart.
Yeah.
And gonna force more control out of Ian against the mortar.
This is trouble, man. That's a very healthy Evo mortar, and he's already back to another mortar, so we'll see if he tries to switch lanes or if he tries to keep the pressure up here, and that should be a lock.
Is there a 1 connection on that? There is.
It is.
Yep. Wow.
Yeah, but there's damage coming
Great
through.
sequence.
It's starting. It's starting.
15 seconds left as we get closer to sudden death overtime. Sub continuing to put on quite a run as he's been on the lower side all weekend long. And a chance to blow open a 2-0 lead.
Yeah, almost gets another lock there. I love that aggressive exchange at the bridge from both competitors, recognizing that mortar is really going to be the biggest problem for Ian. And also, we've seen Sub do this before. I mean, he's just he knows it's just like, get him out, get him out. We saw Igor do it yesterday. Sometimes it's just the best defense, the best control of the game is just staying on offense.
Arrows to clean up. Now lead swinging back towards Ian. He has some pressure on the right-hand side, protects the Dart Goblin against the Cannon Cart, and back to Drill once more.
Yeah, Dart Goblin connecting on the right-hand side as well. Here comes that Evo Snowball. You know the Skeleton King is going to be there. I love that he goes Goblins first, Skeleton King second. Not only can you stack souls, but you don't want that Skeleton King to be the one that gets taken away.
We'll be able to deal with all of the
Final
skeletons
minute
coming from the Skeleton King.
Yeah, nice and clean there. I mean, Mighty Miner, it's just such a good counter to that Skeleton King, along with, you know, the fact that he's got the Dart Goblin.
48 seconds left. Triple elixir in effect.
Just a
Still
tiny
pretty tight.
now.
And just flooding the bridge.
Yeah.
His Sub does not want this to turn into an actual fight at all. Miner doing some work. One little skeleton gets away. 14:07 lead for Sub in the final 25.
Oh, that Tesla. What a good Tesla. But the mortar should lock. I don't think the Dark Goblin was in the way. Yeah.
not
Oh, it
huge.
does.
Down to 979 now. Very close. The poison coming through on the left side as well. Can Sub defend for long enough or get any more damage on the tower.
Oh! The double Dark
no.
Goblin!
Shoot away!
Oh, no.
Oh, the double Dark Goblin gets him!
That is crazy.
And look at Ian. Look at the look that Ian gives the camera when he hit that one. Did y'all see that?
It was
Ian
it was a, oh my god, it worked.
Well, then afterward, it was kind of like a, yeah, that's right. Look out of Ian. Dude, I'll tell you right now.
Have an answer, but the ability to kind of change, you know, rewrite the story because of evolutions and because of champions has actually been one of the positives. Since people are always purists when it comes to Clash Royale, this is one of the moments where we're finding them say, oh, yeah, this is actually a really great thing about evolutions.
Yep. And
Here we go, game number 3.
And I would agree.
Go ahead, Marco.
Yeah, sorry, I was just going to say that I do agree with that assessment. Generally speaking, that's one of the things that really excites me about Evos, and every time we make them, it's like, this is a thing we can think about, is what card is dead and we can revive it. We're looking into the first Tower King activation, obviously from the Firecracker.
Golden Knight on both sides, but fairly different looks as Sub P.E.K.K.'s up in the back.
I am loving the fact that the Mother Witch is coming out as soon as you expect any sort of goblins or skeletons on the other side. It's just coming out and being a reasonably popular card throughout CRL, more than you would maybe expect otherwise.
Definitely. I mean, you know, we haven't been seeing a lot of Mother Witch on ladder in general, and then, you know, even I was saying at the top of the show, is yesterday we started to see a lot more Mother Witch just on the second half of the day,
right?
Because we started to see a lot more graveyards. So it's, again, the ever-evolving meta of a competitive weekend of CRL is always just so fascinating.
Yeah, it has its own meta that lives and dies by the time the tournament concludes, and it's really fun to watch.
90 seconds away, and so far, clean game played by Ian. Should get a shot here. Guts gets 2. 21-38. That might have been a bit more than Sub was anticipating.
And this is just such an interesting deck for the Golden Knight to be in, because the whole point of the Golden Knight is to come in very, very late behind spawn piggies or behind like a P.E.K.K.A, Ram Rider, Royal Ghost push where you see and catch your opponent making the mistake of having to defend at their Princess Tower. They've spent an arm and a leg, they have no elixir in the tank, and then you send in the Golden Knight at the very end of the push to connect to the Princess Tower. So kind of an interesting deck here, and, you know, Sub very good with bridge spam style decks. I'm excited to see what he does with it.
Finally connects on that left-hand side. 2,999. Hog will still get shots, and so far the issue for Sub is we've seen Sub P.E.K.K.A up in the back twice. We have not seen Sub now 3 times. It's going to the outside corner instead. We have not seen Sub use a P.E.K.K.A in response to a Hog Rider, and so far the Hog damage has been significant.
Yeah, and it's really interesting too, is that you're looking at this whole thing of the P.E.K.K.A in the back in the weak lane, and it makes sense. That's what you're supposed to do. Cycle P.E.K.K.As in the back when you don't have another option where your weaker tower is. But the problem for Sub is he can't deal with this Firecracker. So all of a sudden, that whole story doesn't really work out because the Firecracker gets so much value over and over.
We got to see it a couple times also with the Mother Witch Rage combo. It doesn't actually quite kill the Firecracker. And I think Sub realizes what's happening here.
Oh boy. And there you go. After dropping the first one, Ian, back-to-back wins, and he is now 1 win away from a trip to DreamHack Atlanta for the 2025 World Finals.
Wow.
Crazy,
man.
What a better time.
Oh boy.
Find out at World Finals. As we're waiting for game number 4, here we go. This is a chance for Ian to win his first opportunity to go to the World Finals. Sub here fighting for his life. And remember, if Sub somehow turns this around, we do have an upper bracket finals reset, as Ian has not yet lost a set this weekend.
It's crazy to think that Sub needs to win the next 5 out of 7 matches, but that's where he is.
Yeah, that upper bracket reset is so brutal if you're the person coming from the lower bracket. But it has been done.
Well, especially in a best of 5 now, you think about the momentum shift that happens if you go into a bracket reset. So very, very curious to see how, if we get there, these guys handle the mental. And Ian going with some double rage here, the Lumberjack and the rage spell itself.
Yeah, it's an interesting start here from both players. See another Mother Witch coming through. As we mentioned before, it's just good. This meta of this CRL meta is just good.
Yeah, I like what Ian's doing here with the Mother Witch. I think he's recognizing again that he's very susceptible to Graveyard. And now that he's played Mother Witch, I'm very curious to see what Sub does moving forward. And now we're also getting Ian calling good game again, because I don't think he has a way to deal with those Evo Archers, which are going to absolutely shred his Royal Giant. And he also doesn't have a way to deal with the pump. Yep. So this is a very tough one for Ian.
Yeah, this is the situation that happens in a best of 5. That's why I love it so much. It's Arrows is out, other spells are out. Now you just have no way of dealing with it. Well, you should have thought about that.
This looks like pump though, honestly.
Yeah, I mean the pump is crazy.
That's what I was saying. As you guys are all talking about something, I'm like, the pump is here. Ian just ran the earthquake. We're seeing pump. and my brain is kind of exploding right now. And but that is a nice chunk of damage here. Can Ian get far enough ahead early on to get past pumps being the problem?
Yeah,
It's going to be tough. I mean, he definitely needs to stop feeding these Mother Witches, and there we go. Finally, a Knight gets out.
Just knowing how dangerous a single connection from a Royal Giant later on can be, this damage is very significant early on.
Wow.
Look at all the archers.
This is insane.
Oh.
Evo archers. One does get on to the Royal Giant. Does it get a shot? It does not.
These Mother Witch hogs are doing all the work here. It's incredible.
I was just going to say, I mean, it's such a brilliant recognition by Ian to recognize that the only way that he can really abuse his opponent, since he's already calling good game, is by that Mother Witch. There's no good way to deal with the Mother Witch, and then if she can overwhelm you, that changes the Elixir advantage. Although now Ian feeling the pain, 979 to 1679.
Yeah, and a second.
Am I the only one who's just completely flabbergasted that we're seeing Pump Bow right now?
I mean, it's a really great pick by Sub. You know, Earthquake is out, not a lot of other big spells to deal with the pump, you know, doing a good job getting the archers in because arrows aren't in play, and, you know, it's a tough one for Ian here, and luckily for him, he's got more games to play, but this is just a really great deck pick by Sub, and honestly, it's, I think one of the best things about BO5, as you're saying, Marco, is we have not had an opportunity to have a good Expo showing at CRL for quite some time, and now we're seeing it work in spades with the BO5.
And it's Pump Expo of all the varieties.
I mean, it's rare that I'm rendered speechless in my job as a commentator, and I am just completely blown away here. Can he get a shot? He can't. Final minute, and Sub's just going to set up in victory formation here.
Yeah, I mean, that's all he has to do. There's just no big spell for the pumps, no big spell for the Expos. You get the damage advantage. You know, we stopped the bleeding early with that Mother Witch that was getting a ton of work in, and, you know, Ian knew it. He saw the writing on the wall. He did the best that he could with the situation, but, you know, it's just a tough one.
I mean, I bet you so many people, I'm not reading the chat. I know that you, Andrew, have been seeing it a little bit today, but I imagine the chat is kind of going crazy. Maybe, I don't know, crazy with what, but what we just saw happen to Ian here probably sent a lot of people in chat.
There's a very active Expo community out there, and I think they're all very happy about what just happened.
They have not seen their Expo, they have not seen their win condition in the competitive scene in what could be years.
The second game win, running Drill Mighty Miner up against the Miner Mortar deck of Sub. After that, Hoggy Q win for Ian against the Bridge Spam deck. And then what we just saw, the Pump Bow against Royal Giant. So what do they have in game number 5? Whose analyst is earning their chunk of these winnings? We'll find out now.
And it's already interesting to see the Mortar because, you know, Mortar is notoriously paired with Miner, which Ian does not have available. But we did see Igor play a very good, you know, AQ Valkyrie Mortar deck yesterday where he was just spamming like crazy. So looks like Ian's going to go with one of these fun Mortar, like, overwhelm decks. You know, Skeleton King, Skeleton Barrel, a lot of Swarm on the ground. I like these as well, but it is really tough to get damage on tower late game against a good player if you only have Mortars and Skeleton Barrels to do it.
Well, Snowball, Bar Barrel, Arrows, and Log all out for Sub. So that's probably why you're seeing the delivery as part of that. But maybe Ian getting the read here of I can outswarm you because of that, all those small spells being gone.
Yep, just quickly looking at what Sub has. He has a lot of different things that could potentially deal with a swarm, but the question is it a swarm of 5 or a swarm of 35, right? Like, he has Valk, he has the Ice Spirit, even the Royal Delivery is good for it, but will it be enough?
And that's a great Phoenix to catch the Dark Goblin. I like the Dark Goblin play because it doesn't look like Ian has a great response to it, but a great Phoenix to keep it in right in its spawn spot so the mortar shot hits it.
I saw Ian look at the camera twice during that play. I think he knows that that was a lot of damage coming down from the mortar.
Yeah.
So clean sheet for Ian through the first minute 50 as Double Elixir gets closer. And he's taken the left-hand tower of his opponent down almost to halfway. And finally the Goblin Barrel comes out, and a half step late with the delivery is Ian.
Ian, though, now with taking that information, he's got the goblins to get on top of the barrel, the double barrels. He's got the goblin gang plus the delivery, so that is at least a nice benefit for him. But how does he get on top of the princesses and the dark goblins? That's going to be a little harder to maybe figure out.
Fireball trying to clear. Delivery picks up.
I think that mortar's on
And
tower.
that should be it.
Oh!
It might
It
be.
is another connection. Oh, never mind.
No, it had like a weird, like almost shot reset, and then it goes to the guards.
Right.
But the damage on the right-hand lane down to 2041. So, while Ian did take the unfortunate mistimed damage on the right-hand tower, he's starting to put up a lead in both lanes. And this time opts to go gang to cover.
And still, that beautiful Phoenix from Ian is the separating factor in this game at the moment.
And happy to take that -1 for the Fireball and tower.
Ian
15
right now
seconds
just
passed.
a minute 45 away from potentially being our first golden ticket holder. He's got a strong lead in this matchup.
Yeah, massive.
Strong lead in a deck that
1200
doesn't typically gain a lot of ground. Right? It's not traditionally the best to play from behind with.
Yeah, I mean, definitely not best to play from behind with. And, you know, when you're looking at all the responses and air defense that Sub has, and he also has a building, it's just that Ian has just been playing really, really clean.
So all of these defensive mortars will just help to make sure he takes no more damage while slowly either spelling away or doing the skeleton barrels. You know, it's just going to be pressure on Sub more and more. I think Ian is in a good spot here.
Yeah, that's a great call there, Marco, because he doesn't need to do anything. His opponent has no spell power. He cannot get that damage lead back. Ian is happy to take fireball value wherever and whenever he can, especially now that he's in double and triple. Like, this is, I mean, I don't want to do this again, but it does feel like we might be getting our first golden ticket to the American.
Although
1490. Yeah, although there's definitely been a couple of hiccups there. Controlling both the Princess and the Goblin Barrels and the Dark Goblins, as you highlighted there earlier, Andrew. So
25 seconds
Ian
to go.
needs to make sure that he decides where this fight takes place.
Nice delivery there. This is the hit. I mean, this is it right here. There's the
And it does
delivery.
damage.
There's the cleanup. That's it.
I think Ian knows it.
Wow.
I think we're looking
Sub
at our
knows it.
first golden ticket winner, unless this Goblin Barrel does something last second, but I don't think even has time. The Fireball comes through, and Ian77 takes it!
There it is. I mean, the kind of the dark horse of the best players in the competition, right? We had two guys that we hadn't heard of before, and then it was, look at that arm, look at that shoulder, look at that definition. We love it. Ian77 going to World Finals. He called it back in 2024 at Worlds. He's already guaranteed the ticket. Rich, this is amazing for him.
I mean, what a big moment for a guy who, had this reputation from being a content creator, right? And how many people have gone from content creator first to successful pro second? It's a very short list, as opposed to the people who were top tier pro players and then turned into a content career. Ian's done it backwards, and now he's doing it all the way to World Finals in Atlanta in November. And it couldn't happen to a guy who maybe has deserved it more for such a long time.
Just
Yeah,
looking
I mean,
at
this
the bracket, I think we kept